Hello, all. So I'm Bala. I've been with Ubuntu and the community, open source community for a little over 20 years. Thank to Samir for the speaker on the laptop. So yeah, this is a talk on OSCAL, which is an open security controls automation language, mostly in the using the GRC, which is okay. So how many of you here know what GRC is? Great, I know that everybody knows. Okay, so brief overview of governance, risk, and compliance. So when most people think of security, they think of firewalls, antivirus solutions, whatnot, right? But there's a more fundamental part of it called GRC. Now, how do you decide you need firewall? How do you decide you need a VPN or zero trust or all those buzzwords that you see in the security industry? So you have something called compliance frameworks, compliance standards. So there's a whole process around threat modeling, risk assessment, and whatnot, right? So that whole thing is what GRC is about. Your GRC is the input to for you to decide what tools you need and how effective are you using those tools. Like I said, GRC is the backbone of trust and security in the cyber world. Okay, this isn't working. Now, having said that, there are so many standards. Like always, there is ISO 27001, there is SOC 2, there is NIST, there is whatnot. And very recently, India added its own DPDPA for privacy and etc. Right. So the traditional practice in the GRC industry has been, will there be an audit timeline? People hunt around, go collect evidences. Evidences, every team will hold evidences in their own location, their own shared folders, wherever that may be. These evidences tend to be a point in time, screenshot, log file, whatever. So they are not real time. That is another problem. So the intention of compliance is not to have a checkbox to say, well, I'm audit ready, I'm audit done. The primary purpose of compliance is to give you guaranteed security. And that is not something you can achieve with manual, tiresome, cumbersome processes. You make mistakes, you miss timeliness of evidences. Basically, you miss everything except the checklist. Now, enter OSCAL. So OSCAL is an open security controls assessment language, automation language, whatever you want to call it. This is a public domain framework from NIST of the United States. This has been around for about 4 or 5 years now, but not very common at all. The reason being, people are used to doing things the traditional way. People are used to doing it the manual way because change is hard. Now, what OSCAL offers you is a framework that standardizes your controls and compliances, meaning be it NIST, be it ISO, be it SOC 2, whatever the framework that and standard that you want to be compliant with, OSCAL gives you a representation, lets you represent that in a machine-readable way. Now, why you need machine-readable way? If you continue to do things the manual way, well, you can have it in a PDF, Word, whatever format you normally use. But that will keep you manual. Now, the reason why that is hard is what we seen earlier. So the OSCAL gives you a set of models, not just one model. First thing is a catalog model. The catalog model is what you choose when you decide, I want to do ISO 27001, I want to do SOC 2, I want to do NIST 853, right? You make a choice. And you make that choice based on your requirements, your organizational requirements, the security, depth, and breadth that you want. Having chosen that, one might not implement everything that the standard says. They will choose usually a substantial subset, but definitely a subset of it, which is what the profile, which OSCAL calls the profile model. Having chosen that, let's say you want to enforce stronger passwords, right, or stronger authentication. You might use MFA, you might use frequent password rotation, etc. For all of these, you need a tool. It could be something that Ubuntu Pro offers. It could be something standard IDP like Microsoft Entra ID or Google Workspace or those standard people offer. So those form your components, the tools that you choose to implement your controls with. Finally, you have the SSP, which is a system and security plan. You say, this is how I'm going to implement this control with this tool, right? You say password should be 15 characters long, should be changed every 40 days, 50 days in the tool of your choice. So the entire life cycle of how you start with your compliance journey is with these four models. Then comes right. So this gives you your compliance baseline, right? All of this is machine-readable, Git controlled, in version control. So when you change something, you have changed it. Normally, you will have a manually put version number in your PDF, go for approvals, etc. Here, because these are all machine-readable files, you version control them. Your Git commit or Basar commit, like Guru likes to say, will have your what changed, why changed, when it changed, all of that. And this sort of gives you, this is a little hard to read, I understand. It sort of tells you what each of those models offer you. Now comes the interesting part, the continuous part. So with OSCAL telling you what all you need, right? OSCAL also additionally offers you two things: an assessment plan and an assessment result. An assessment plan is something that you say, I want to verify this periodically. So am I implementing control ABC the right way? So in GRC terms, it's called control effectiveness. Control effectiveness has two components: the design effectiveness, which is your policies are, and your operational effectiveness, which is what this exactly gives you. Now, what does operational effectiveness mean? When I add a new user, is the user automatically having MFA? When I create a new bucket in my S3, is it automatically encrypted? When I create a new EC2, is the EBS encrypted? Right? All of these, if these happen, then your operational effectiveness is at 100%. If they don't, it is not. But how do you know that? So this is where open policy agents and frame tools like Rigo OPA come in. Your OSCAL assessment plan tells every day or every week or whatever periodicity you want, check if uh, data address is encrypted, which is what your control would say. It would not say S3 or whatever, or it will say all endpoint devices enabled with drive encryption. Right? These are your controls. Your OPA and Rigo, they let you define these policies as validation rules. Say here I've given an example where I'm checking if EBS volume is encrypted. If it is false, it will do a validation error message. Right? These are available for most Linux distributions and naturally for Ubuntu as well. And this, your assessment plan will say, this is what we have to check. Your assessment result in OSCAL will say, well, this is how it was and this is evidence of it. Now, benefit that this gives you is you have your evidence collected automatically, periodically, without fail, stored in a definite location. And because you are configuring this, the team that's running this is configuring this, all evidences will be stored at a given place, not siloed everywhere else. And more importantly, instead of a checkbox complaints, you have continuous assessment where if there is a failure, you know it immediately, or worst case the next day, and you can take corrective measures, which also has that's something called a plan of action model in OSCAL, which lets you define once a control fails, how do you establish corrective actions, which is called the POA model, plan of action model. Now, this is how it all ties in. Normally, when you talk about GRC, your starting point is asset. People, assets could be people assets, digital assets, storage assets, whatever. Then you have your configurations. Then you have uh, uh, your log files, etc. for SIEM, SOC, all of that. So you pull data from all these sources. You have your assessment plan. Based on that, you execute your OPA policies, and then you have an assessment result. Now, how does Ubuntu play in? Now, Ubuntu with its the package repositories, with its snaps and all that, is the largest ecosystem of has the largest ecosystems to pull in all these data. It has integrations with AWS, Azure, GCP, all the hyperscalers. It has tool to talk to most common CMDB solutions. It has CLIs for talking with enterprise grade ITSM tools and or common open source tools like GLP, etc. So all of this, Ubuntu is the perfect choice to operationalize your GRC automation. Like without this, you'll have to manually figure out how to fetch data. And so OPA and Rigo are your validators. They don't have data fetchers in them. So you have to pull your data yourselves. And for that, Ubuntu plays a role. And significantly, all of this will be automated running in sort of a cron CI/CD checks. And this is how you achieve GRC automation and continuous security. I think that's all I had. Questions?
So, thanks, Bella, for the talk, and it was very informative. Thank
Thank you.
So I am from that era, like in 2012, 2013, like we had XCCD of XMLs and OVAL and everything. So how different it is from all those previous things? Like I wanted to know.
Right. This is a very interesting question because there were tools like what you're mentioning, but those were specific to Sun OS or HP UX ecosystems. OSCAL, because NIST has made it into public domain and there are contributions from public, this is the more generic standardized format. You can represent controls from any standard, not just NISTs, and you can define your in GRC terms, what we call as SOA, right, statement of applicability.
Yeah.
That becomes your profile, and then you implement it. So all aspects of audit cycle and continuous monitoring get covered by OSCAL in tandem with some validation tool. I choose OPA because it's open source. There are other tools to do validations as well, but this works in tandem and is more standardized than the HP offered or the Sun offered tools.
Okay, it's like one single tool for all the across all the platforms. Then it's generalized. Then
It is generalized, yeah. So
okay.
these four together can be used for, so CISO Genie, where it's a startup that's in the GRC, it's a SaaS-based GRC vendor. We have been able to use OSCAL to represent DPDPA across the East.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
So I was thinking on the lines of like let's say DPDPA, right? You have this what is that? You in Europe you have this data privacy, this GDPR,
Yeah.
GDPR.
Yeah.
So I was thinking on those lines.
Yes, we've been able to map GDPR with OSCAL as well.
Ah, okay. Yeah, got it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Balagim.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is pretty close with his question. We had tools like OSCAP, which sounds pretty similar to OSCAL, OpenSCAP, which is like the XML rules and definitions, and we could audit and then even fix the like the compliance framework like DIS or CIS and stuff. How different or how similar is OSCAL from OSCAP?
The advantage OSCAL gives you is it covers the entirety of your GRC cycle, from choosing your standard to choosing your subset, your SOA, right, your profile. So all aspects of I only heard of OSCAP. I don't know how it operates, but OSCAL gives you the completeness of it. So you choose a framework, you choose your SOA, applicable controls, your implementation. It even gives you the component model. So you choose which tools you use. So the benefit there is once you arrive at your component model, right, your IT team gets an idea of tools that it has to acquire or that it has to procure. All of that, it plays a significant role that too. And then comes in the assessment plan and assessment result. So this is something that have been traditionally manual. Now, this gives you a declarative way to say, I want to do these assessments in this periodicity. But now, the tool that you use could be anything. In this case, I've chosen OPA. And OPA is also very simple. This is one example that I showed, but OPA executes fairly fast, and I don't know if I can move across now. So I can show it around later. You can execute this in a rapid way so that banks and fintechs and all those institutions that need higher level of compliance, they could even do the continuous monitoring on a say four times a day, 6 times a day. The benefit of rapid execution is something that you achieve with OSCAL.
Okay, got it. I think I'll have some more questions. I'll come to you.
Yeah, I'll get around the day. Yeah. Thank you.